This is Humane Vegan. I'm Lydia.
And I'm Chris, and today we're here at DC Vegfest.
We're here with Chetana Mirle from Humane Society International's Farm Animal Division. How are you, Chetana?
I'm doing great. Happy to be at Vegfest.
So are we?
Yeah, we are too. Love it here.
Now, Chetana, we just spoke to Paul Shapiro, and we were discussing the fact that most people, when they hear about the Humane Society, they think about dogs and cats. And we just found out that it's not just dogs and cats, it's farmed animals as well. But people don't realize that it extends beyond the United States, that the Humane Society has an international division. Would you like to tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure. Specifically as it relates to farm animals, what's been exciting about our international work is that we've been able to stem the spread of factory farming internationally. So what we're concerned about is that as we make incredible strides in terms of animal welfare, specifically farm animal welfare, here in the United States, and we know that they're having great success in the European Union, we don't want to see these cruel intensive confinement practices and other cruel factory farming practices moving to the developing world. We don't want these practices moving to the global south. And that's where Humane Society International's Farm Animals Department comes in. So we're really zoned in on the developing world, where the majority of meat, egg, and milk production is already taking place in the developing world, and factory farming is spreading in the developing world. And in fact, most of our factory farm pork and poultry products now globally come from the developed world. And that's also where most of the growth is projected to occur. So that's really where we need to be focusing now, and that's where Humane Society International has had the privilege to focus.
That sounds wonderful.
So what kind of unique challenges do you have focusing on the international?
Well, obviously we're working in countries with very high levels of poverty. And so you're working in places where you're having extreme poverty and hunger coexisting with the same problems of obesity and overweight and all of the factory farming related pollution problems. So we have both happening at the same time. And often what we find is that the animal agribusiness industry will use this poverty as an excuse to expand factory farming. Well, we need to give all of these hungry people protein. But what we're really focused on proving to people is the fact that factory farming in particular does not improve nutrition or food security for poor households in the developing world. So instead what's happening is that it's increasing disparities in nutrition and economic well-being and social well-being. And if they wanted to focus on animal agriculture and as a way of improving nutrition for the poor, they should focus on small-scale agriculture, free range, open, in the villages, led by small farmers, and not factory farming. So factory farming, in fact, compromises food security and nutrition in the developing world. It does not help it, and that's a point that we're working very hard to make worldwide.
Okay, so what are some of the main campaigns you're working on now, and some of the breakthroughs that you've had recently?
Well, we have 3 country-specific campaigns. So we have factory farming campaigns on the ground in India, in Brazil, and in Mexico. And we also have a larger campaign that's more global, looking at the drivers of factory farming worldwide. So we're looking at the international development and finance institutions that are financing and offering political support to large factory farmers. For example, the International Finance Corporation, which is the private sector arm of the World Bank, has financed huge factory farms in China, which is something that we discourage. And you also see the U.S. Agency for International Development and other development and financial institutions having been involved in spreading this really inhumane system of animal agriculture worldwide. So that's our target, is to get them to stop financing this type of animal agriculture. So that's one program that we're very focused on, in addition to these country-level specific campaigns. And some of our victories so far has been in the whole country of India. We've ended the practice of starvation forced molting for egg-laying hens, which was a tremendous victory. For those who aren't familiar with what that practice is that the egg industry will often deprive laying hens of food for up to 14 days, and sometimes combined with water deprivation for up to 2 days, just for the purpose of manipulating their egg laying cycle and to make more of a profit out of these already abused hens. And we worked with the Indian government and with both at the national level and also in 23 states to successfully call for a ban on this practice and call an end to this practice throughout India. So that was a recent victory, and it was a really significant victory for us. And I think it was also a victory because all of the media that came with it allowed us to raise the profile of farm animals, particularly chickens in India. So that was a significant victory. And what we're seeing in countries all around the world, India, Brazil, wherever we work, is more and more retailers are becoming sensitive to the animal welfare issue, and they're switching, for example, adopting cage-free procurement policies, which is definitely a step in the right direction.
Absolutely.
So that's been a significant victory in terms of our country-specific campaigns. And internationally, we have a great climate change and animal agriculture specialist who works with a lot of UN agencies and international environmental groups. And he's been really successful in bringing a discussion of animal agriculture into international, into the consciousness of people who are talking about deforestation and climate change in the international arena, and explaining to them that animal agriculture is a significant driver of deforestation. And also talking about the benefits from a climate perspective and also from an overall environmental perspective of reducing egg, meat, and milk consumption, and the benefits of that for human health, for the environment, and for the animals. And certainly I'd like to emphasize again that we really shouldn't think of the developing world as one homogeneous place or region, and in fact you do have very high levels of overweight and obesity and all of the health problems that are coming around with rising egg, meat, and milk consumption in these countries. So there definitely does need to be a significant effort to stem that rise, especially in urban areas, because I think now in the developing world the number of overweight women is equal to or greater than the number of underweight women now.
Wow.
So this is the double burden that countries are facing in the developing world, of having to deal with obesity and overweight related illness. At the same time, they're still struggling with malnutrition and underweight. And the solution really to this problem is to reduce egg, meat, and milk consumption amongst the upper classes in the urban areas. And if we're going to support animal agriculture, the type of animal agriculture to support is small scale, led, free range, extensive, very animal welfare friendly, and led by small farmers and not factory farming.
This is such great information, and we're really glad to be talking to you today because we don't hear a lot about the global community.
Well, you know, we live in a global economy, and unfortunately, you know, for the better or for worse, goods move across borders, services move across borders, companies move across borders. A lot of the American factory farmers are eyeing markets overseas now. And so unfortunately, animal cruelty has become one of the latest exports, and we're working very hard to fight that.
You know, that's such a shame. If somebody wants to get involved and either support the organization or volunteer or whatever way they'd like to support you, where do they go?
Well, you can first visit our website and find out the breadth of work that we do. I really focused on farm animals at this moment, but HSI works on animal cruelty issues across the board internationally. So I'd encourage you to visit our website, which is hsi.org, or send an email to info@hsi.org if you'd like to get involved and volunteer in any way. Again, this is a global campaign, a global effort, so it doesn't matter where you are in the world, we can definitely use your help.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much, Chetana.
Thanks so much for having me.